Maplecroft name may not be as famous as the Borden house, but it is where Lizzie Borden and her sister for a period of time lived after the murders of Andrew Borden and his second wife, Sarah. Lizzie refused to leave the town of Fall River, Massachusetts, once she was cleared of the murders.
Now, when she passed, she was viewed, her body was viewed, she was waked in this room, which isn't unusual because everybody was waked in their parlor back then.
Not only is Maplecroft a beautiful home, but it has long been wondered if there might be some paranormal activity here.
Okay, it's very nice to be here.
Beautiful.
Beautiful breath.
I said yes.
You? Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
So with that said, and those introductions out of the way.
While many tried, only one group was the first one in here, RISEUP Paranormal. That first investigation netted some very interesting pieces of evidence.
You really showed them by knocking that house down, didn't you? It was quite the garage.
That was enough to get the team back in here for a second attempt. Ken, Chris, Vinny, Julie, and Chris Rondina made the trek up the hill, where Maplecroft and Lizzie can look down on the rest of Fall River.
There's an inscription here, and Chris and I looked into this. Like it's from passage in a book of poetry.
Yeah, it's obscure book of poetry. This was moved. This was originally in,
I think so. Yeah.
I believe, her bedroom,
Yeah.
and they moved the mantle here after she died, I believe.
The first session had the full team in the parlor together. This is where they caught a male voice the first time they investigated. Now, they hope for that, and a little more.
All right, we're gonna get the squelch button on so we get a baseline environment in here. So let's give this a listen. Okay. All right, baseline set up. Okay. All right, so we'll start. We're going to do a session in here, introductory session. We are at Maplecroft. It was April 20th, 2019. And we are here with Vin, Julie, Chris, and Chris too. Chris is right here. All right, so here we go. So I wanted to reach out tonight to Lizbeth, or Emma, or both actually, and I'm sure that you're aware that we're here tonight and we've brought all these gadgets and gizmos with us that you're probably familiar with, but we have visited your previous home on 2nd Street and we have been in here once and it's wonderful to be back. It is a beautiful house, and we came tonight just to reach out to you, see if you'd like to speak to us and have a conversation with us tonight. So anyone who's capable and willing to do that, please feel free to come forward. We're guests in your home this evening, and it's much appreciated that we're here. Lately, I know that you've had a lot of people in here now trying to do what we're doing, and we don't think we're special in any way, and I'm not going to tell you that we're going to do things differently, but as we were at your former home, we wanted to talk a little bit about your life, your work with the church, your work with animals, etc., and so forth, because we know that this was a place that you came to get away from all that. This was your sanctuary. So if you don't mind answering a few questions for us, I promise you that we will be able to hear you. Of all the places you could have gone to after your inheritance, what made you want to stay in the city, knowing that there was going to be some kind of fallout about this. There were going to be neighbors and even friends of yours that were going to look upon you differently. I admire the idea that you stood your ground and you stayed in the city, but was that something conscious on your part that you wanted to remain here?
You know, we know you had connections in Newport, Boston, just all around, but you still chose Fall River. Was this a place that just held a special meaning for you? Was living in the Highlands just that much of a draw? Because you built a beautiful house here.
It could also be something that you did have ties in the community with your church and with animal organizations. So was that something that you wanted to remain close to because of the time that you'd invested and the money that you'd invested in that as well? Your love and work with animals is very notable. A lot of people know that about you, and in this day and age, this is something that we're very sensitive to, much more today than back in your time. So you were actually ahead of your time in being an advocate for animals. We just all want to commend you on that, because you were way ahead of the rest of us.
We know this house was very special to you, your sanctuary, as Ken said earlier. In recent years, the house has been restored, beautifully restored, and people have taken great care to bring this house back to capture what life was like when you lived here over a century ago. Do you feel a new sense of home here when you look around and walk through these halls today? Do you still feel at home in this place? Does that touch you that they've restored it in such a beautiful way? No, I know.
Was that someone's stomach?
I heard something too.
No one's stomach? I heard something there.
Yeah, I heard something.
We'll mark that a couple seconds ago while I was talking. This is probably still pretty new for you, having people coming in and asking you questions. Maybe you're confused about our goal. Honestly, our goal is to meet you, whoever you are, whoever is still in this house, who has memories about this house.
I can't tell if this is visual fatigue, and we just didn't have a car light going by here, but for the last probably 60 seconds or so, I've seen a distortion right over here, just past the, is that a K2? No, that's, MF, right?
The millimeter?
I can't tell what's there because it's dark.
Over the piano, basically.
Just past it. It could be visual fatigue, but it was pretty consistent.
It's nothing with my cameras moving.
Okay. I don't think so, no.
Okay.
It looked like heat.
Yeah. Now we're pretty much at the point where we know someone is here. We've even captured a female voice in the past while we were here. But we're having a hard time figuring out just who you are.
One other question I wanted to ask before we move on. Is there a male presence here? Is there a male here in spirit? Maybe in visitation? Because I believe that we did hear a male voice, in response to the last time we were here and a conversation we were having. So I just wanted to reach out to any gentleman that's here right now as well. If you want to let yourself be known, you're welcome to speak.
The crew took a little break after the first session and then split into two groups. Ken and Julie stayed downstairs, while the two Chris's and Vinny headed up to the second floor.
Come on, you pirates, start us up.
It's always interesting in a house like this.
Creaky ass chairs.
It's like you know the iconic resident here. But there were others. There were a lot of maids and drivers, but you wonder too if the curiosity in this whole tragedy, could someone have passed and been like, that's where I want to hang out? Could it just be someone just here, random? I mean, we don't know anything about the field, but
Well, there's a pet theory that's been around for a long time, which I've always found interesting, which is that the idea that ghosts are activated by a certain degree of energy, that basically they're dormant until something comes along to activate them. And you think that a house like this, the attention that it gets, that any remnants left behind in the house might be more likely to be active because of the amount of attention that the house is getting. And so, do we know the year the house was constructed? It was constructed before
slightly
Elizabeth lived
before
here.
she bought the house, so probably the late 1880s.
Okay, so probably not many, maybe one other family.
No, I
lived here.
think someone built it. Lizzie liked it and pretty much bought it.
Okay.
It seems, because I couldn't find any other residents. And then after she leaves, we have 10-year, 12-year occupancies. Nothing really long. But there's 4 of us up here. If there's anyone else that would like to communicate with us, we'd be happy to hear from you. Especially if you can make wind noises. That would be preferable. Thank you. That's how the other shows work.
Should I start pointing at darkness and saying, hey, what's that? Oh, I kind of did that downstairs already.
Don't be a one-trick pony, Rodino.
I gotta diversify. Wait a minute, I got touched, right? Oh, boy.
No, please do, especially Elizabeth, if you're here. I know this part of the house is definitely the private part of the house. Guests would rarely see up here. Maybe your close friends would. Are we welcome up here?
Doesn't extend that far. I don't either. And look, it's still doing it. Look at this.
Well, maybe this is the...
Okay, that's strong.
Are you doing this? Can you stop doing it if this is a spirit? And step away from it?
Okay.
Now, just for I know it's you, go back to it and light it up nice for me. And then we know that you're here. Just one more time. I know I'm making you pull off tricks here and all.
Could you approach this or touch the light again?
There were some pretty hot hits on the K2 meter. RISEUP started to wonder, since they are in such close proximity to a local hospital, if that is the cause of the readings they are getting.
Obviously, we want to find out if this was anything naturally occurring. And what you can see is with the sensor of the K2 on the left-hand side pointing toward the hospital, we are getting spikes to yellow. And we also have our tri-field natural set to radio frequency, microwave. And we're getting a bounce at the same time. So the point we're trying to make before we jump off that cliff in terms of what's happening upstairs, and we're not suggesting that one has to do with the other, but we definitely have to consider that there's some type of frequency coming off of the hospital. That could be two-way radio, could be communications, could be whatever it is. The other thing that we notice on this particular road on French Street is that there are no power lines. So the utilities are all underground here, which also could be a contributing factor to it. Again, we're not discounting anything that happened upstairs. All we're saying is these are the type of things that we have to consider before we take that leap. So,
Any chance that stuff on top of the hospital is a cell tower?
well, you've got one of the highest points in the city because you're already on top of the highest point in the city. Plus, you have the towers up on top there.
I would have
So-
better service.
Yeah,
That's just your bad phone.
we would all have like 4 bars. At
Yeah,
this
I don't
point.
have 4 bars. All right.
So, in essence, what we're saying is we are just considering another angle to this.
Yeah.
Again, not to say that what you experienced upstairs we need to discount entirely, but we at least need to consider the value of what we're seeing here. So.
The last session of the night came in a back bedroom that was added onto the house after it was originally built.
Elizabeth, hello. I hope you don't mind that I'm going to sit on the bed here. I know I'm probably not the first, and I probably won't be the last, but we just want to get comfortable here. So we wanted to come in because our time here is getting short. So this is one of the places in your home that we wanted to come into because we know that this was a quiet room for you and you could kind of get away from everything here. So we thought this might be a good place to come in and talk to you because maybe you felt a little more comfortable here than you did in other parts of the house. I just wanted to know if there's anything that you'd like to say to us before we say goodnight tonight. By all means, go right ahead and do that. I want to give this time to you. I mean, this is your time for anything that you'd like to say, any message that you want to give. It would probably be the best time to do so now. You know, Vin over here and myself are from Tiverton, and my understanding is that your father did have some business dealings in the town that we were born in. Am I correct? I hope we haven't been a bother to you tonight. If we have and you want to let us know, we're not going to be offended by it. Nothing else, we've tried to be honest, so you can be honest with us too. Have we offended you in any way, even unintentionally?
Oh, that was a good one. That's a good one. I went to yellow.
Would you prefer that we left right now? Have we overstayed our welcome?
You'll probably be seeing me again because I print for the owners, and hopefully we'll be doing some work with this house as well as 2nd Street. And I got a piece of irony for you. I used to work in one of the mills that your uncle, Colonel William Borden, built under American Printing Company. And then it burnt and he rebuilt, but then he lost the building, and I was in the building for 16 years printing for the Borden house. bed and breakfast.
So there's still a legacy here. It may not be the one that you prefer. But we came tonight just to let you know that when we think of you, we think about more than just what you've become famous for. And I know that's a difficult thing. I don't think anybody wants to be famous for those reasons, and you probably didn't ask for it. And I know you think people have it wrong. So we're wrapping up here tonight at Maplecroft, and again, it's been a great pleasure to be here. We took the same tact here that we did at the Borden Bed and Breakfast. We're not here to relitigate a trial or to pass judgment or to try to elicit a confession out of anybody, because we think at that point it's counterproductive. So we'll let those stories stay the way they are. Our goal at both places was to address Lizzie Borden, the person, as far as her other interests, be that in the church or in animal protection organizations, things like that. So we think it was a more positive way to approach. And we still have a lot to review and a lot to go over, but hopefully this bore fruit tonight, and we did get some kind of acknowledgement from her.
I think it was about coming and learning about the house more, understanding the house, the sounds of the house, how the house reacts, and really just trying to dive back into the history of what this house really was about. And it wasn't anything about the tragedy; it was just about her escape. You know, and
it really was. I mean,
creating
this was her sanctuary, and we wanted to make sure our approach mirrored that. That we understand this is where she came to essentially escape all the rest of it. The ironic part is that for whatever reason, we can only speculate, she didn't want to leave Fall River. You know, with the inheritance, she could have gone anywhere and just, you know, disappeared, but she was steadfast in her determination that this is where she wanted to live. And it was up on the hill in a very affluent and influential section of the city, so maybe that had something to do with it.
Such an opposite of where she came from.
Exactly, so this was her way of proving, I don't care, I do belong here.
After RISEUP had a chance to go over their recordings, I met with Ken to see what they found.
No, I know. Was that someone's stomach?
I heard something too.
Nope.
Okay, so what we have here, what was sent me, is apparently my name being said, and a little later on Julie said she heard something as well. So in here, I will play it for you. Now this is that, and this is Julie's voice.
I heard something too.
Nope.
Alright, so my question is she trying to get my attention over here? You know?
I heard something too.
Sounds like her, right?
Right.
Okay. It sounds like her, enough of a question in my mind that I'm wondering if it was a case of Ken. And then we talk. I heard something over here.
The idea of that whispering voice being Julie was put to bed when Ken was looking at video footage of that same EVP. Julie was across the room from Ken, not next to him.
Someone's stomach? I heard something there.
Oh, wait. Oh, wait.
I know.
See Julie? She wasn't next to me.
Yeah.
She's over here.
Mm-hmm.
She's looking,
Yeah.
and she hears it, and I'm by myself on
Yeah.
the sofa, and everybody's accounted for, except, where's Vin?
Vinny's
oh,
in the
well,
chair.
Vin's in the chair.
Yeah, he's in the chair.
He's in the chair. Vinny, Julie, can't tell them apart. But this is what happens here.
No, I know.
Mm-hmm.
Was that someone's stomach?
heard something too.
Nope. One stomach, I heard something there.
Yeah, I heard
Alright. We'll mark that a second ago.
Julie.
While I was talking.
And there I am. Okay, so
That's
when we do this stuff.
There were several more pieces of potential evidence that Ken went through with me.
Right?
It heard you. Wow.
Yeah, it's right on cue too.
Yeah. Tell me every time. Every time we come here, it's like this.
Right?
Okay, so this is what we're listening to right here as we're speaking and doing a session. Again, just Julie, only female there. And we get this snippet right here, which sounds like a full sentence.
It's like a car passing by outside, but then there's something being said right as.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a, it's two different signatures. It's not like a radio on a car coming by, which unfortunately kind of like doesn't quite overwhelm the voice, but you do have that kind of in two different direction listening experience where
Yeah.
you're listening to the wheels on the pavement. But if we play the rest of the clip, we obviously hear it inside, and we're both kind of like, wow. Because it's not the first time in Maplecroft we've had a statement, and this appears to be a statement, or almost like a query, a question, or something like that. So what we did is a little bit of filtering, a little bit of amplification, so we can kind of focus on just what was said there, right? So this is a little more prominent.
It heard you. It heard you.
I think I might hear a please in there. It's
Yeah.
like a query, a question, an implorement.
It heard you.
Yeah, but the cool part about it is we can all listen to it and maybe drive ourselves nuts trying to figure out what was said, and anybody who watches this will have an opinion, and that's fine. I'm perfectly good with that.
Yeah.
What I'm also good with is that obviously there's a voice there that's not ours, that shouldn't be there in this otherwise empty place other than us.
That you repeat that, please. What was your driver's name?
Okay, so we seem to have a response there. What was your driver's name? We'll pick it up from here.
Driver's name.
It sounds to me like Mike. Sounds to me like Mike. Sounds like Mike. And that's a woman. And that's not Julie. Again, you know, can't emphasize this enough. You guys were there, you lived it. We got one female in the whole place. It sounds to me like Mike. Mike was not her driver's name. Okay, I mean, we can keep digging a little bit on that rather than dismiss it out of hand, but those things were known.
Can you come near that little gadget on the table, or could you just make a noise or say yes? Can you come near that little gadget on the table, or could you...
Okay. Okay. That sounds male, and where we are is you guys are upstairs. I am sitting with Julie in that breakfast nook at the table. So we've got some gizmos, and Julie is just asking to come near something and interact with something. So let me go with the isolated version of the voice here. Now, I tell you what I think that sounds like. I think it's, what is this? Or you could hear something with the word visit. So now we start to lose our minds over this right now, right? We visit. Now the whole thing, any guesses?
What I'm hearing is, I can't hear this.
Okay.
That's what I hear.
Okay, I mean, 'cause we can do this. And I hear we visit too.
Yeah.
We visit too. And now somebody will listen to this and they'll say,
John is dead.
I'd like a sandwich or something like that. But it's the nature of what it is that we do, and you can't get bogged down by it, and it's certainly not worth arguing or debating over.
Yeah.
This is audible from the parlor with a different camera angle.
Can you imagine the cost of that back?
Right there. Okay. I don't know what that is.
Sounds like a cartoon voice to me.
Sound like a cartoon voice. Sound like, like there's a balloon making a nest in the chimney or something.
I know the poem on the mantle meant a lot to you. It was something.
Right there.
Was there something in there?
Now you guys
I heard
stop.
something. Not to you. It was something. Was there something in there? I heard something. Did you hear anything?
Yeah, hang on.
Knock audio. A couple seconds ago.
Okay, so that's kind of one we want to keep. You remember this? We were
Yeah.
talking about it?
Yep.
Okay. That's not Julie and me. We're on the first floor. We're in the breakfast nook. Her camera is running out here. We don't hear that. We're doing something else. You three guys are upstairs.
Yeah.
You come down and we say, we heard a cartoon, Monty Python, one of the guys playing the Queen. Hello.
Yeah.
That kind of voice is so silly.
What the hell?
It's in the house.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's saying.
Show me.
Okay, so this was the big deal that night.
I found a dead spot.
Yeah, and I found a dead spot. That has nothing to do with that voice. That's something else entirely. But we're not around there, and you three guys are upstairs when you came down. It's like, did somebody, because Julie reviewed something else and found that completely by accident. She would have found it eventually, but she was looking for something else.
Did you just start laughing?
If somebody just didn't talk in a solemn voice, and I just heard a woman. Say if somebody just didn't talk in a Sato voice like woo, 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 then we just heard a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't from upstairs, it was from outside the parlor at the foot of where the staircase may be. Outside the room there. And I gotta tell you, this was one of those, like my jaw dropped open. I just look at Julie, and Julie heard it too. And this is a good one.
See, I didn't hear a laugh, but I heard, again, it was like
the voice.
a voice saying something.
I heard a voice saying something.
Another great investigation for Rise Up Paranormal. Now, getting the evidence isn't always what makes an investigation great. Sometimes it can just be the location itself. But it sure helps when you have a lot of great evidence.